John Deere says it's moving some of its production to Mexico, according to an email that was sent to Waterloo employees. The company says all production of cabs, welding, and assembly for current and future products will move down south. The cab production change is expected to be complete by 2024.
At a rally, Trump accused the company of robbery for planning to shift production to Mexico, threatening an insane 200% tariff on their imports if they follow through. Will this bold move protect American jobs, or will it backfire and cost us all?
Trump disagreed with this plan to spread production and import John Deere products back into the U.S.
They think they're going to make product cheaper in Mexico and then sell it in for the same prices they did before.
He has announced plans to relocate portions of its manufacturing operations from Iowa and Illinois to Mexico by the end of 2026. This move has stirred a wave of reactions, from political outrage to economic debates. The decision primarily involves lower margin parts and equipment, which the company claims are better suited for production in Mexico due to reduced costs and logistical efficiencies. For John Deere, it's a business decision aimed at maintaining competitiveness in a global market.
They've announced a few days ago that they're going to move a lot of their manufacturing business to Mexico. I'm just notifying John Deere right now. If you do that, we're putting a 200% tariff on everything that you want to sell into the United States.
The company has framed this shift as a necessary step to streamline operations and reduce manufacturing expenses. They argue that these changes are essential for remaining profitable in an industry where every dollar saved counts. However, this reasoning offers little solace to the approximately 600 workers in the Midwest who face layoffs as a direct result. These employees, many of whom have dedicated decades to the company, find themselves grappling with an uncertain future. Beyond the personal stories of job loss, this decision has sparked a broader conversation about the fragility of American manufacturing and the ripple effects of globalization.
Quick to point out, they have 60 facilities in the U.S. and 30,000 U.S. workers, and they're really talking about moving like lower margin parts or equipment to their Mexican facility, which, quite frankly, is a good business decision now.
Critics have been quick to point out the contradiction in moving production abroad when John Deere has long been viewed as a symbol of American ingenuity and pride. The company maintains that the bulk of its operations, including 60 facilities and 30,000 workers, will remain within the U.S. But that assurance does little to quell the unease. The optics of relocating even a small portion of production to another country have fueled debates over corporate responsibility and the balance between cost-cutting and community impact.
With a 200% tariff on any products not made in the U.S., a tariff is effectively a tax on imported goods and can lead to higher prices for consumers.
At a recent rally in Pennsylvania, former President Donald Trump issued a stern warning to John Deere, promising to impose a staggering 200% tariff on products imported from their soon-to-be established Mexican facilities if he regains the presidency. This declaration, delivered with characteristic bravado, adds another layer to Trump's already controversial economic playbook. Known for his protectionist stance on trade, Trump's message was clear. Jobs that leave American soil will come with a hefty price tag.
The company has responded with a new contract for workers, but it's not finished. It's now cutting some jobs. John Deere confirmed that some assembly operations at its Waterloo facility will now be moved to Mexico. John Deere did not say how many jobs total would be affected.
Trump's history with tariffs is well documented. During his administration, he imposed tariffs on steel, aluminum, and a range of goods from China, all aimed at bolstering domestic industries and reducing America's trade deficit. While these measures drew criticism from free trade advocates, they resonated with voters in industrial states who felt left behind by globalization. His proposed John Deere tariff fits neatly into this narrative. For Trump, it's not just about economics. It's about identity, loyalty, and the symbolism of keeping American jobs at home.
Imports, we'll be talking about what that means, what would that look like if implemented, if Trump wins here. Before we get into that,
however, the idea of a 200% tariff raises immediate questions about feasibility and impact. Such a high tariff would significantly increase the cost of John Deere products imported from Mexico, forcing the company to either absorb the cost or pass it on to consumers. For farmers and contractors already stretched thin, higher equipment prices could be a tough pill to swallow. Trump's approach, while appealing to some, risks alienating the very communities it aims to protect.
Don't forget, President Trump renegotiated NAFTA, right? So all of this is sort of within the realm of what's reasonable, a reasonable business decision. But so if you put, the 200% tariff on it, it would basically, make that an uneconomic decision, and you have to bring it back to the U.S.
The threat of a 200% tariff on John Deere imports immediately brings trade agreements like the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement, USMCA, into focus. Signed during Trump's presidency, the USMCA was designed to replace NAFTA with a framework that protected American jobs while promoting trade among the three countries. However, imposing such a significant tariff on goods from Mexico would likely conflict with this agreement, setting the stage for legal and diplomatic challenges. Under the USMCA, tariffs are regulated to ensure a level playing field for all members. A unilateral move like the one Trump proposed could lead to violations of these provisions, sparking trade disputes and even retaliatory measures from Mexico. It's a reminder of the delicate balancing act required in modern trade policy, where national interests must coexist with international obligations. Legal experts argue that implementing a 200% tariff would not only be unprecedented, but also difficult to justify under current trade laws. Tariffs of this magnitude are typically reserved for cases of dumping, where a country exports goods at unfairly low prices to undermine competition. John Deere's move to Mexico doesn't fit this criterion, making Trump's proposal more of a political statement than a legally sound policy. The implications of such a tariff extend beyond John Deere. It would send a strong signal to other companies considering similar moves, potentially deterring them from outsourcing, but also raising concerns about government overreach. For businesses operating in a global economy, the prospect of unpredictable tariffs could undermine confidence in the U.S. as a stable place for investment and innovation.
In the meantime, let's talk about some of these economic proposals. Of course, Vice President Harris will be in Pittsburgh later this week outlining some more of them. Donald Trump talking about some of them today in Savannah. To reiterate, he vowed to impose a 200% tariff on John Deere's imports.
The proposed 200% tariff on John Deere's products manufactured in Mexico could create shockwaves across multiple levels of the economy. For John Deere as a company, the immediate challenge would be how to absorb or offset the steep additional cost this tariff would impose. Manufacturing in Mexico allows Deere to cut production costs, especially for lower margin items. If tariffs are introduced, those savings vanish. This could force Deere to either pass the added costs onto consumers or reconsider its operations entirely. Neither option is without significant consequences. Higher consumer prices risk alienating customers while shifting production back to the U.S. could lead to higher operational costs and reduced global competitiveness. The agricultural sector would likely feel the brunt of this decision. Farmers rely heavily on John Deere equipment, from tractors to combines, to maintain productivity. Many already face razor-thin profit margins due to fluctuating crop prices, rising fuel costs, and other economic pressures. If Deere's prices rise due to tariffs, those costs will inevitably trickle down to farmers, forcing them to pay more for essential tools. This could result in a domino effect. Higher farming expenses leading to increased food prices for consumers. For rural communities, where farming is the backbone of local economies, the impact could be particularly severe. On a broader economic scale, the tariff could invite retaliatory measures from Mexico, straining the trade relationship between the two nations. Mexico is one of America's largest trading partners, and any escalation could disrupt a wide range of industries beyond agriculture. From automotive manufacturing to consumer goods, the ripple effects could reach every corner of the U.S. economy. Additionally, such a move risks undermining the stability of the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement, USMCA, creating uncertainty for businesses that depend on predictable trade policies.